The Tar Heels couldn't overcome a Caleb Wilson-sized hole on Saturday at Duke, but Henri Veesaar says, Caleb or no Caleb, they got out-efforted. That has to change.
This is David Noel, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, March 9th, 2026. It's championship week. Oh my goodness. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day, all part of the Locked On Network, which is now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your Monday going the right way. Special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, who puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, but putting in the work, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about Carolina's obvious Caleb Wilson absence. That was the huge news of the weekend, not just for our little slice of basketball heaven, but for all of sports media. If we're being honest, it was everywhere I looked and turned over the weekend. So we'll talk about that, but not allowing that to be an excuse for Carolina getting out efforted and how Carolina needs to fix that. We'll get to our Four Corners recap of the game, including, guess what? Carolina outshot Duke, but it didn't matter because there was a whole bunch of other metrics that left them lacking, which is going to be our Shady stat of the game, by the way. We'll get to that in a little bit. Also, our Seth Trimble 1,000 Point Club update. We'll talk a little ACC tournament. We'll get to the weekend whiparound, nice big full show. And then we'll get out of here. We'll get on to the rest of the week. Tuesday, Tyler Zeller's going to join us on the show. And then we'll start really getting into ACC tournament chatter all the more. It's coming and it's here, and I can't believe it. Let's get after it. By the way, as you start to think the big picture about the NCAA tournament, starting next weekend, I'm going to be flying down to Dallas to do the bracket breakdown again this year for Amazon Fire TV. It'll be myself. Tar Heel Jesse Hawley is on the desk. Gordon Hayward, Butler, famous Butler player, NBA All-Star. Kylan Mills, who's a host for Big Ten Network, part of the Locked On family as well. She'll host the whole thing. My co-partner in crime, Andy Patton, who we co-host Locked On College Basketball together, if you're unaware of that. Not only do I do our show, I have the honor and privilege of hosting Locked On's national college basketball show as well. So make sure you check that out this time of the year. Also, over the weekend, we had our first 6 tickets punched for automatic qualifiers, 25 more to hand out, and of the AQ variety. Obviously, Carolina has a shot at that, but even if they don't make it, they will at least get an at-large. And what a relief that is after last year's, like, oh my gosh, are we going to get in of it all, right? All right, so here we go. Let's dive in. Caleb Wilson. This, oh my word, I just still am in shock. I can't believe it. All of this thinking of, man, Caleb could be back for Duke. He had been cleared. At worst, would have been back Thursday for the ACC tournament. And then just the sheer dumb luck, I guess not dumb luck, dumb unluck of just hitting the tip of his thumb on the rim and breaking it. I mean, this is now one of the biggest what-ifs in Carolina history. Who knows what heights Caleb could have taken Carolina to, in addition to what they had done without him in the postseason. But now we will never know. So this becomes a what if right along with Kendall Marshall in 2012, right? Like that team had while this team would be a outside shot at a national championship, I mean, it was Carolina or Kentucky was the assumption that year. Of course, Kentucky won. Carolina lost in the Elite Eight to Kansas with like Stillman White running the show, right? Like, that's what it was. And then, or Kenny Smith's wrist injury in 1984, his freshman year, Jordan's on that team. Perkins is on that team. They started 17-0, and then they just couldn't get their chemistry back together. Kenny actually came back and played that year with a cast on his hand, and it just worked. By the way, Kenny, his son Malloy Smith, is now the third member of the family to play basketball for the Tar Heels, committing on Friday after the Caleb news, and so that kind of got covered up in all of it. But really excited for Malloy. We'll have to unpack that more when we got a little bit more time outside of the tournament stuff. Something, though, about the Caleb Wilson of it all. If Carolina was going to be without him, which I wish they weren't, I'm glad it happened before the Duke game rather than after the Duke game. And here's what I mean. I'm very grateful that if Carolina was going to have to deal with this, they had at least one more regular season game to deal with it before getting into tournament scenarios, in the same way that I was hoping Carolina would be able to get him back in the regular season before a tournament scenario. Because there is a massive difference in you've played 6 games without him. Yes, I recognize that, but hear me say this. Playing 6 games without Caleb Wilson, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and that he's going to be back, is very different than we've played 6 games without Caleb Wilson, but we know we don't have Caleb Wilson. Like, psychologically, I don't know if you've ever played sports. I don't know if you've ever done any sort of project, whatever it is where you're missing somebody like that. The psychological difference in he's going to be back and he's not are like worlds apart. And so now I'm grateful that Carolina had to go into this Duke game now knowing it's just us. This is all that we have. That's it. In a game with the intensity of a Duke Carolina matchup, but not the intensity of one and done, which is a whole other thing that Carolina will now have to face every time they take the floor for the rest of the season. It's one and done. In the ACC tournament, not one and done for the season, but one and done for that tournament. And then the one that starts like a week and a half from now, the NCAA tournament, that's legit one and done. Your season's over. And so the Duke-Carolina rivalry gave the Tar Heels, without Caleb Wilson, who knew they won't have Caleb Wilson anymore, an opportunity to really feel and understand that outside of a tournament scenario, thus better preparing them for what they're about to do. And as a reminder, like another part of this is, yes, they had played 6 games without him, but we're probably thinking right along with us, oh, Caleb's going to play at Duke tomorrow night. But then they have to do a quick change again, just like after the Miami game, because, you know, the news of Caleb's thumb broke Friday afternoon. So they probably found out somewhere between Friday morning and afternoon after Caleb, but he didn't get his x-rays till Friday. And so, I mean, it was probably 30 hours before tip-off the guys knew. Like, that's a quick change in your biggest, you're against your biggest rival in the regular season finale. That's a big deal. And all of this adds up, by the way, to Carolina finishing the regular season, playing more than half of their games, 16 of their 31 regular season games, without at least one of Seth Trimble, Henri Veesaar, Caleb Wilson. 9 without Seth. There were 2 games that were both Henry and Caleb, and then now 5 games without just Caleb. In those 16 games, Carolina has only lost 3 times. Michigan State without Seth, NC State without Henry and Caleb, and then the Duke game. That's it. That's the only 3 losses they've had in those 16 games. Like, that is so impressive that they went 13-3 in games where they were missing at least one of those guys. Really, really good stuff. But now the key is you got to move forward. And one of the few potential, I guess I would say, silver linings of losing Caleb is the selection committee is obviously going to bump Carolina down a little bit, and we'll see how they respond this week. I think this week is very telling. Like, the selection committee is going to be watching teams like Carolina, like Texas Tech without JT Toppin, like BYU without Richie Saunders, very closely to see how they perform in a tournament setting without these dudes that are out for the season now. Which, by the way, you know, we don't know the Caleb Foster news yet. I hope he's going to be okay. I hope Patrick Gungams is going to be okay. We never want dudes to be hurt, right? Like, I know it's our rivals, but still, you want those guys to be healthy and play, so hopefully they'll be able to go for Duke. But one of the few potential silver linings is that, you know, Carolina was kind of in 5 seed range. I don't think they were going to push up to 4 seed range unless they win the ACC tournament, maybe. But now you're probably floating closer back down to a 6 seed. And that might be a silver lining, because as a 4 or a 5 seed, you're slotted, if the bracket holds, and that's a big if, of course, but you would be slotted to play the 1 seed in your bracket in the Sweet 16. Nobody wants to do that. I mean, this is a crazy crop of 1 seeds. Duke, Arizona, Michigan, probably looking like Florida now since UConn lost again over the weekend. Meanwhile, if you're a 6 seed, you wouldn't have to play a 1 seed potentially, if you do play 1 seed at all, until the Elite Eight. So you get to skip them around. Now, part of the difficulty there is you would play a 3 seed in the second round, and you would play potentially a 2 seed then in the Sweet 16. So a harder path to get to a 1, but you get to avoid a 1 longer. So, and more of these 3 seeds and 2 seeds are beatable than this crop of 1 seed. So there is a little bit of a Caleb, a little bit of a silver lining there. Now, here's the issue though. Caleb Wilson or no Caleb Wilson, here's what Henri Veesaar said after the game. Quote, "They definitely efforted us in the second half." So with Caleb, one of the things you could still have an advantage in is, hey, we've lost our best NBA prospect, our best player on this year's team, at least the leading scorer, right? With no Wilson, what can you outdo Duke in? Effort is one of those. You know, there's other things, sure, but the main thing I think of is, okay, so we're going to go out hustle you. We're going to beat you to every loose ball. We're going to be on the floor. We're going to do everything we can to just out physical you, out effort you. And Henri said they out efforted us. The opposite of what needed to happen is what happened. Duke, the team that had more talent on the floor, was the team that out efforted Carolina. And those two things add up to lack of success in losses. So again, another part of why I'm glad Carolina had a final regular season game without Caleb Wilson, because if this happens Thursday in the ACC quarterfinals or the next Thursday or Friday in the NCAA tournament first round, you're done for that tournament, for the ACC tournament, but for the season in the NCAA tournament. You cannot get out efforted, especially now without Caleb. The margins for the Tar Heels are so thin. They've got talent. Hear me not suggesting they don't have talent. They've got talent, but they've got scrappiness as well. They have less talent than they did with Caleb. Like, that is clear and obvious. But they've got to lean on that sort of edge, the toughness. And here's what I love that Henri did. He didn't just let that out effort go. He went on to say right after that quote, "That's really where we lost the game, that getting out efforted in the second half. During that run, Duke, got the momentum, and we had a lot of people just fold. We have to play with some edge," end quote. Here's what I love. I love Henri calling out his teammates, a la Brady Manick a couple years ago, a la Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram, guys who weren't afraid to say those things. So important for accountability's sake. But here's what I also love that Henri did. He called out his teammates, but he included himself in it. He didn't say they, he didn't say him. He said we. First person plural. Man, that is so critically important that he's calling out the whole team, including himself. Now, he's not saying he folded, but he's saying we, and that matters. But another thing I love about how he handled this is he did it in a general way. It wasn't, oh, Isaac wasn't doing his part. It wasn't, et cetera, right? It's, you can do it in a general way publicly and then privately go hold individuals accountable and say, you need to do this better. That's leadership, man. And that's what Henri needs to be doing. That's what Seth needs to be doing, rallying the troops and make it happen. Play with that edge that Henri just talked about. That's what I want to see. Now, the good news is that this feels like the exception rather than the rule. We've seen this version of Carolina without Caleb Wilson be tough-nosed, be scrappy, do all the things you need to do. I think a lot of that is Zayden High's emergence, but this team has realized what they've got to get done. We saw it against Clemson. We saw it against Louisville, Virginia Tech, etc. They got to go do that again. If they do, they could win several more games this season. If not, they could be finding themselves on the way back home sooner than they wanted to. Now, ironically enough, and almost frustratingly enough, Carolina actually outshot Duke on Saturday night and yet still lost. It wasn't enough. Well, I'll explain that and the rest of the four corners all coming up here in just a second. right after I tell you about 5 Hour Energy. Hey, welcome into the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at the aspects of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which ones might be sleepers that you need to check out as well. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one, though, can take home the top spot. My number one draft pick in this 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft is strawberry banana. That has always been my favorite flavor combination. Smoothies, milkshakes, yogurt, whatever it is. I love this combination. I love these two fruits individually, but put it together, like, it's just so good. The sweetness of the strawberry, like the more kind of tropical flavor of the banana, I'm all in on it. But let me tell you about my sleeper pick too. I'm a Georgia boy. Isaac is. I love peach anything, but I also in my adult years have grown to really like mango. And so 5 Hour Energy has this great peach mango mashup, man. That's my one that you got to check out. Like, I know strawberry banana is kind of like, okay, fine, blah, whatever. But dude, peach mango, you need to go get it. So I'd love to hear from you. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots. Let me know what it is. Available online at 5hourenergy.com or over at Amazon. 5 Hour Energy, check it out. This episode is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, man. The deadlines are stacking up, inboxes overflowing, and the one position you need to still hire is sitting open because you don't have the margin to get it done. Well, good news. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, that's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs, who helps you reach the people that actually fit the job you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate comes along and finds your post. No. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute that I'm going to be talking to you, 27 companies just like yours have hired using Indeed, according to their worldwide data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, man, that's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of our show are going to get $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. So head there, Indeed.com/podcast, and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Tar Heels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Hey, if you've been thinking about joining the brand new Locked On Everydayers Club, now is the time. You get free, ad-free shows, access to our group chat on Discord, all of that. And if you're signed up before the NCAA tournament tips off a week from Thursday, you can get into our Everydayer Club bracket pool on Discord for a chance to win Locked On merch. Should be a lot of fun. So right now, use code MERCH to get your first month free. Check it out. Head to lockedontarheels.supercast.com or go find the link down in the show notes. Let's get to our Four Corners recap. You ready? Number one. Here's the frustrating truth about this game. If you just look at the shooting numbers, you're like, oh, good news. Carolina won. Why? Because North Carolina outshot Duke from the field 45.3% to 42%. Carolina outshot Duke from three 37.5% to 31.3%. And Carolina outshot Duke from the free throw line from a percentage standpoint 100% to 53.5%. Duke was awful at the free throw line. The bad news, the problem, Duke took 16 more field goal attempts than did Carolina. The other problem, Duke took 11 more free throw attempts than the Tar Heels. So it doesn't matter that Carolina shot a better percentage. They took many fewer shots because they had the ball less, and I'll explain why that is in just a minute. However, a couple encouraging signs here. Number one, 3-point field goal percentage shooting. Over Carolina in the last 5 games in a row has shot over 35% from three, which is hilarious landmark because that's the demarcation line I've been talking about all season long. I want Carolina to take 15 to 23s a game and shoot them at an above 35% clip. They've done that in 5 straight. They've done that in 6 of their last 7. They've done it in 8 of their last 10. Heck, in 6 of their last 10, they've been over 37%. And in 4 of their last 10, a 40% average. I say that because in 4 of their last 10, they've been over 40% from 3. They're really heating up and at just the right time, but you got to keep it going and you got to get the right shots to the right guys. The ability to know who that is and how to get it to them is going to be critical going forward. And the other thing, again, Carolina shot 100% from the free throw line, but only took 4 shots. That is the fewest free throw attempts since February 4th of 2023. Also, ironically enough, at Duke. And this is the third fewest of the HD era. There was another time Carolina shot just 3. That was December of 2021 against Michigan, which would have been December of Coach Davis's first season. So that's crazy. So Carolina shoots better than Duke percentage-wise, but didn't get enough shots, and that's the issue. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap, Carolina obviously had their issues on defense, but they were apparent and abundant on offense as well. Carolina had 3 different droughts in this game that extended over 5 minutes. First half, 5 minutes and 5 seconds from 14:01 to 8:56. Second half, 2 different droughts of over 5 minutes. The first one was 6:08, 16:44 to 10:36. And then the second one was 5 minutes and 7 seconds long, 10:34 to 5:27. And if you were paying close attention there, like basically that means there was one bucket in there, one field goal from 16:44 to 5:27. So you put it another way, combine the second half drought. Carolina had one field goal or scored 2 points from 16:44 to 5:27 of the second half. That's 11 minutes and 17 seconds of game time with just one field goal. Simply ain't going to do it. And again, that's where you miss Caleb's athleticism, at least in part. And part of the issue in that second half was the inability to get enough shots for now who are the big 2 with Caleb out, being Henri and Seth. Those dudes combined to take just 5 field goal attempts in the second half. They were 3 of 5. That's great efficiency, but they only got to take 5. Henri only had 1. He's got to work harder, but so does the team to get in the ball. I don't care what Duke's defense is doing. You find a way to get your big man the ball. And that takes me to Four Corners point number 3. I think recap point number 3. I want to see the Tar Heels play through Henri Veesaar more. Clearly there wasn't enough in the second half of this Duke game. In the last 3 games alone, Henri has an average of 16.7 points, 7.3 rebounds. That's coming back up. 1 block a game. But here's the critical thing. It's not just about the scoring and rebounding and block shots. He also is assisting at a much higher rate. 9 assists in the last 3 games against just 3 turnovers, meaning his last 3 games, his assist to turnover ratio is 3-1. Play through Henri Veesaar. If teams come at him, let him make a smart decision. He's going to, and he will. Got to keep it going. And getting Henri to play even more through Henri, I mean to say as a team, I think that is a critical key to success for the Tar Heels. Four Corners recap point number 4. Derek Dixon was of a couple of bright spots. He was the biggest one on Saturday. Keeps showing up in big games. Career high 17 points for him. Career high 5 3-pointers made. And on a day where the Tar Heels as a team finished with season high tying 14 turnovers, you're like, well, you got a freshman point guard, so he probably had 3, 4, or 5 of them. Well, guess what? Derek Dixon put up a fat goose egg in turnovers in this game. None. Dude, that the 3-pointers and the points is very impressive. But my word, not turning it over at all. I love that. More of that, please, Derek Dixon, going forward. You combine that with some of the other guys on the team. Just step forward, make plays. I can see it from you. I know you can keep it going, and so do so. Now, I already mentioned that even though Carolina shot better percentages from the floor, Duke shot worse percentages, but won. And I told you I'd tell you why, because they had the ball a lot more. I'll explain that coming up for our Shady stat of the game in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, this is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. I just talked about him, but the dude who moved the game forward on Saturday night at Cameron Indoor Stadium was none other than freshman Derek Dixon, who scores a career-high 17 points, 0 turnovers in this basketball game, career-high 5 made 3-pointers. He's trying to pick up some of the slack left behind by his classmate Caleb Wilson, and I love that. I love that. That's how you move the game forward. It's moments like this that remind us what it takes to raise that bar. The extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit mentality. Mazda puts that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel, but what it took to get there is what makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Time for the Shady stat of the game. A lot of times when we have the Shady stat after a loss, I'll try to find something that explained the loss. Again, Carolina shot a great percentage, better than Duke at least, from the field, from the free throw line, and from the three-point line. But, as I said, Duke had a lot more shots because Carolina turned it over a season high tying 14 times. Carolina surrendered 18 total offensive rebounds. Now, all that by itself doesn't matter other than like, oh, you gave up all these possessions. What matters is how many points you gave up off of those type of moments, off of those change moments where they get an offensive rebound and get it back up, or where they get a turnover and a live ball run out. So here's the stat. Carolina was minus 30 in points off turnovers and second chance points combined. Duke led points off turnovers 24-4. That's minus 20 for Carolina. And Duke led second chance points 14-4. That's minus 10 for Carolina. So you add it all up together, minus 30. And guess what? That's a game that you lost by 15. So all you got to do is, easier said than done, because Duke was blitzing ball carriers. They couldn't handle it. I mean, good night. But if you cut that 30-point deficit there in half, it's literally a tie game because Carolina lost this game by 15, excuse me. So got to take better care of the ball, got to secure those defensive rebounds. Those two things, you might not have won this game, but you would have been right in it. And that's crazy. Crazy stuff. All right, Seth Trimble, 1,000-point club watch. Seth is sitting now at 943 after this game, meaning he needs 57 more points to join the 1,000-point club. And if Carolina just plays two games, like if they play in the ACC tournament and lose their first game, if they play in the ACC tournament or the NCAA tournament, lose their first game, Seth's going to need to average 28.5 points to get to 1,000. Doable? Yes. Likely? No. If Carolina plays 3 games, wins 2 in one tournament, or plays 2 in one tournament and 1 in the other, woohoo, or vice versa, he would have to average 19. If they play 4 games, either 3 in the ACC tournament, 1 in the NCAA tournament, or flip, or 2 in each, Seth will need to average 14.3 points a game, which is essentially right on his season average. So that's what I'm hoping for the Tar Heels, that they can play 4 total games in this postseason to get Seth there. Again, it's just me, one man's hope for one of the individual accolades, but I just would love to see him get that. ACC tournament update. We know now the whole tournament is obviously set. It tips off tomorrow. And again, the ACC bracket is so dumb. It makes no sense at all. 15 of the 18 teams make it. Why don't you just do 16? You could still do double buys, all that kind of stuff. It just is nonsensical to me. So Carolina is going to play at 9:30 on Thursday night against the winner of Clemson, who's the 5 seed. And Clemson on Wednesday night plays the Virginia Tech and Wake Forest winner, who are the 12th and 13th seed. Those two, Clemson will play that winner, and that winner will play Carolina on Thursday night. Now, unfortunately, that Clemson second round game is late, that same 9:30 slot that Carolina plays on Thursday. So we're going to have to stay up late to find out who the opponent is. But guess what? I got you covered. I'll do it. You can go to bed, right? I'll take care of it. I wish it could be NC State, but it can't be, and it won't be. Oh, and by the way, ever since Quadir Copeland told Caleb Wilson to lace up next time, NC State's 0-4. So there's that. Karma, buddy. All right. ACC tournament. Again, we'll talk more about that as the week goes on. Let's quickly get to our weekend whip around. Then we'll get out of here. Women's basketball was in the ACC tournament over the weekend. They blitzed Virginia Tech in the quarterfinal, 85-68. 3 different Tar Heels, 18 or more points, led by Lainey Grant's 21. Nyla Harris had a 19-10 dub, and Elena Arnasalo had 18 points to go along with it. But then Carolina loses to 2. Carolina was the 3, and they lose to 2 seed Louisville in the semifinals on Saturday, 57-65. And then Duke ends up beating Louisville in overtime in the ACC tournament championship. So Duke could go double on winning both ACC tournaments in basketball. There's that. And so now they're in wait and see mode for the selection show. The ladies are. Seems like they'll be a 4 or 5 seed. Would love that 4 seed because then you could host at Carmichael, and that would be ideal. Baseball and softball, a little bit of a rough weekend, both at the hands of the Virginia Cavaliers, both at home. The fellas lost Friday in 7 innings, 13-3. They lost Saturday 9-2, both blowouts. And then finally the dudes won, the Diamond Heels won on Sunday afternoon, 8-7, but it took 12 innings to get there. So it's a very similar outcome and result from Carolina last year. Remember, Carolina started 13-0. Their first ACC series, they lost to Stanford at home 2-1. Essentially the same thing here. It's wild. It's crazy. It's absurd. Softball, let's turn our attention there. The ladies also played Virginia, who is ranked 16th on the women's side. Same kind of thing. Carolina lost Friday 7-3. They won Saturday 11-9, but lost Sunday 14-19. High scoring affair there. So the ladies fall to 19-3 overall and 3-3 in ACC play. Let's get to the tennis court. Women didn't do anything since Thursday when they blanked UNCG, but the men who all blocked Boston College on Thursday 7-0, another skunk there, lost at SMU on Sunday in Dallas 4-3. The Tar Heels fought back. They got up 3-2, but then SMU won the finals 2 singles matches going. Tough one there for the guys who fall to 9-5, 2-2 in ACC play. Lacrosse teams, they were both in action and they both did work. The men moved to 6-1 on the season, 6th in the nation. They beat Brown 19-7 on Saturday afternoon. As for the women, they now moved to 7-0, 5-0, still first in the nation. They were hosting Pitt Saturday, 19-3. I mean, it's so crazy what these ladies are able to do. Wrestling racks up some great stuff in the ACC tournament is what I'm meaning to say, and got a huge win from Bryce Hepner, who won at 165. Great stuff there. You also had 2 runners up, Luke Simcox at 141 and Jake Daly at 184. Consequently, the guys finished 4th, and now wait and see mode. NCAA championships start next Thursday, March 19th in Cleveland, Ohio, although we will all be doing something else that Thursday, with all due respect to the wrestling team. Men's golf is at the John Haight Collegiate down in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida at Sawgrass Country Club. There's 16 teams competing. After 2 days, Carolina is tied for 8th. Today, Monday, is the last day. Women's golf, they went down to Gainesville for the Florida Gators Invitational. As you can imagine, Florida cleaned everybody's clock. Carolina finishes 3rd, and it was weird scoring. Florida was -20. Understandable, they're at their home course. Virginia was 2nd at -2. Carolina was even. And then number 4 was Miami at +28. So like Florida, who won the event, was 48 strokes ahead of the 4th place finisher. That is insane to me. Gymnastics. Oh man, the Gym Heels. These ladies got a huge win on Friday night, beating number 13 Minnesota at home with their highest score of the season, 197.2, while Minnesota scored 196.9. It was so close, and Carolina is able to squeak it out. Swimming and diving. Diving had their zone diving championships. That started yesterday and is going through Wednesday of this week. Fencing was in Philly for some regionals this weekend and did very well there. Now awaiting NCAA championship stuff as well. All right, guys, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for being with me here on a Monday on Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't subscribed on video and if you haven't subscribed on audio, go do that right now. Seriously, I know it sounds wild and bonkers and dumb, but if you just listen, go subscribe to YouTube. If you only watch on YouTube, would you go subscribe on your favorite audio podcast platforms? It's so helpful. I promise you. It means the world. Even if you never listen to it on audio, just download it. Man, it's so helpful. Great stuff there. And if you haven't joined our Everydayers Club, again, there's that bracket opportunity. Would be really neat. That link's in the show notes, as is the link for our Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We'd love for you to join us there as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Again, as a reminder, with Tyler Zeller, going to be a lot of fun there. We'll talk then, but for now, peace.